Hi New Zealand Cricket, this is Flo. With Mother's Day coming up, I thought I would do a little project. This is a shadow box that I designed in Design Space, and I will put the link in the comments to the video when I put it up. Now, I have got 4 sides to it, and you can see each of these sides is the same. This is approximately 8 by 8, and this is the bottom piece of it. This yellow piece over here is the clear acetate. If you want to cut the clear acetate, you can cut this one and that will make an acetate top for the box. I can't find my acetate at the moment because I'm at my daughter's place, so I may not actually cut this and put it up. However, what I have added to this is the word mother, and I thought I would just simply put that on in the centre, and I may add something to that. You may like to add something to it and put I love you mother or number 1 mother. I'm just going to add mother to it. Now these little pieces that you can see that are like little triangles, I want to cut them in vinyl and I'm going to put them over the corner that is mitered so that you don't see the mitre corner. And I will go through and go to the cut screen. I've got my Maker 4 up there. I don't want the Maker 4 up there. I want the Explore 5. And the reason I want the Explore 5 is because that's the machine that's sitting beside me. And you can see that it's connected. And I will now click out of that. It's saying Explore 5. And I'm going to go to the Make It screen. One of the things that I have done in this is that I have used A4. So when you're using A4, you've got to be reasonably careful with where you put your pieces, especially if they're a little bit large. Now that is a plain sheet there. This is the shape that I cut to go inside, and I think these little black ones are the frames. Now I've cut some frames before, so I'm now going to move these over because one of the things that I did was I cut the frames on the left hand side where they were, and I cut them on the smart vinyl. So I'm going to turn these frames around and I'm going to put them on the side, on the right hand side, so that I can cut them on the smart vinyl that I used before. Now you can see I just rotated them round and I've moved them over to the right hand side of the material. Now on the left hand side here it says on mat, but I don't want to cut these ones on the mat, I want to cut them without a mat. So oops, as soon as I chose without a mat, it said oops, you've made a change, we don't want that change, we're going to tell you you have to redo it because you changed your mind on something. So when you're doing this, select your mat type first, whether it's without a mat or with a mat. I could have left it with a mat and just put it back in, but I've decided to show you what happens in real time with when I'm doing things, and I don't always remember which order I'm supposed to do things in. Just like everyone else, I can make mistakes. So now that one is without a mat. Let's have a look. We're going down to this one. This one is mother. Now, I also want to cut mother on the with the other one in gold, and I'm going to have to check back to whether I've actually got this all in one piece or whether I've changed it and it isn't in one piece. I think it probably is. So I will leave that. No, I'm going to cut that without a mat, and also going to move this to the other one. Now I'm going to move that to the one I've got the little pieces on, and I know this little piece here is cut out of my material that I'm going to use. So I'm actually going to move it over. I have to check my piece of vinyl, and that's about 3 inches down on my piece of vinyl. I'm actually going to check the length of my vinyl with a little ruler, and I can see that I've got about I've got about 20 centimetres of vinyl on here, and 20 centimetres is about 8 inches. So I'm looking at the 8-inch mark here, and you can see on the screen I'm looking at the 8-inch mark, and the piece of the cut that I've got on my vinyl at the moment goes to 13, which it's not very easy for me because I'm working in inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Let's have a look. No, it's not going to fit in there. Well, so I'm going to put it underneath here, and I'm going to make that go underneath there. Now, even though this is in black, it's the colour vinyl that you actually put in that makes the difference. And these other pieces that are going to cut out the side and bottom piece. Now, this number 8 mat that I've got down here, I am going to move that over to the right hand side, because when I change the position of this, I'm going to go move object, and I'm going to change the position of this to this mat here. And when I do that, it goes in exactly the same position as what I placed it. Now, I'm going to cut this on the mat. I'm also going to cut this with the with it on an A4 sheet of paper. So you can see I'm going to have to be very careful where I place my A4 sheet of paper so that it cuts right. Now, I'm going to now go to my cutting machine, and I'm having a terrible problem here with my mouse. Let's put it on a piece of paper and see if that makes it easier. And yes, it does. Now, if we look at this, we have nothing on our number 8 mat now. So I'm going to go back up, and the first thing I'm going to cut is I'm going to cut the vinyl, and it's a gold vinyl that I'm going to cut. And so I'll now go continue, and I'm going to choose the Smart Matless vinyl, and I want to cut this twice, so I will endeavour to load it once, and then I will cut it a second time without unloading it, and see whether I get that right. So I will now go to the machine. Now, you can see my machine is all set to go, and the light is flashing. Now, the piece of vinyl that I'm using is matless vinyl, and you can see I've cut something on it already. Now, I'm going to put this in and slide it in up to there, and then I'm going to push the button that says go, and it will measure the vinyl, and then it's going to cut it. Now, this machine has got a very fast cutting speed, and I'm hoping that it's going to cut well. It usually does. However, I've got my pussycat down here looking at it very closely, so hopefully she won't jump on the other side of it. Now, I'm working on a little trolley at the moment because I haven't got a room set up for crafting. I've had an unfortunate circumstances, and I'm now currently living with my daughter in one of her bedrooms. So I'm doing this with limited room, but where there's a will, there's a way. And so I've used a little trolley with a roll-out table that goes on the top of it, and I'm using my Explore 5. Now, this was the Explore 5 that came in a bundle, and I also purchased the cricut bundle of materials. I'm not quite sure what it was called. Hang on a minute, because I've got the box right here. And we'll have a look and see what it was called. It's just called cricut. Hang on. It is called the Material Starter Bundle. And it came with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's have a look. See if I can put that in front of your eyes. There you go. That's the bundle I bought. And I love it because it's got silver and gold in it. And that makes it really good. Now, you can see my machine's finished. But I don't want to unload it. I want to start it again. So I'm going to push this button, which wasn't the flashing one. The flashing one said to unload it. But I wanted to cut it a second time to make sure that it goes all the way through. Now, rather than put more pressure on it, I've cut it a second time. And because I didn't unload the mat, it will cut in exactly the same place as it cut prior. Now, it's only the Cricut machine that I know that is an absolute perfect second cut if you don't unload the mat or the vinyl. So once this finishes, I will come back and show me trying to weed this. Because one of the things I didn't do with this is put a bounding box around it. And that is something that I normally do. The reason you put a bounding box around the things you cut is because then you can weed inside the bounding box and it makes it easier to pick up. So hopefully I will do that very shortly and you'll see me come back and take it off the mat. Now, the machine is stopped now and you can see this button is flashing here, and that's my unload button. And I've got it unloaded and I shall now put it on one side and I will show you the cardstock cutter, because the Explore 5 has when it comes in a bundle, you get the scoring tool with it. So I'm now going to find my scoring tool and show it to you, because that's what I'm going to do next. And my scoring tool is in the box. Yep, it is. And I will show you the difference in the scoring tool and the cutting tool. Now, this is the scoring tool. Now, if I bring it right up, you can see that that's got a little icon on the top. It is only short, so it's really great. And I need to put that into my machine. Now I'm just going to pop that down there for the time being. And I'm going to put my scoring tool in the machine. And gotcha. There we go. Wonder whether I can pop it in there. No, it might not do so well in there. Let's put it on one side so I don't lose it. Now, it's very important you don't lose these. So just be careful where you put them. Now, I'll go on to pause for a moment so that I can get my mat set up. Right, now, you can see I've actually got red. It looks sort of pinky on there. Now, I've put my, actually it's 11 by 8.5, this paper. So it does give me the length I want to put it on. However, you can see that at the bottom, this is sticking up slightly. And I'm hoping that that's not going to cause me a problem. So what I will do is I will press it down a little bit firmer. Now, I don't have a lot of room to move my mat around, but I'm going to put that in there, and hopefully this will do what I'm hoping it will do. There we go. And you can see that going on. Whoop, I just caught it there. Now, it did tell me that I needed to do the scoring tool first, and that was good because you can see how fast this machine works when the scoring tool is in it. So I'm just letting you see this simply because it always amazes me just how fast this machine works. And you can see now it's done the scoring, and my machine, well, Design Space is now telling me I need to change it for the smart tip blade. No, the fine point blade. It's called. Get it right. Right, now I'm going to take that out, and I could put it underneath there just to get it out of the way, and I shall put, now the fine point blade laid in so that I've got it out of my hands. There we go, and put that there, and now we'll go to where the video is. There we go, and hopefully you saw that, or I will show it to you later. And in the meantime, I will push the button on the machine and have it go. Now, this is cutting it, and you can see how fast it actually cuts it. It is amazingly fast. Now, I think I've got this set so that it cuts twice, because I find on this cardstock, cutting it twice gives that just a lot neater edge. Now, I'm going to unload it, and I'll have a look and see whether it cut through. Now, I was pretty sure it had cut through, which is why I didn't bother lifting it before I took it out. Now, when you do this, you turn your mat over and take the paper, take the mat from the paper like this, and hopefully that leaves it so that the paper's not bent. And I'll come back and show you me putting it back together. Now, I have my pieces cut out on the vinyl, and I want to show you now how I'm going to trim this vinyl. Now, I have used the piece on this side. I haven't actually weeded these out yet. However, I want to trim this piece down, and I will do that. That's not a very straight cut, but however, it's a cut nonetheless. Let's see if I can get it a bit more through the backing of the vinyl. Yep, I can. And I'm going to put that on one side. Now, I'm going to use my True Sharp knife to lift up the corner of this vinyl. And I'm not sure whether you can see it. Yep. I've got to take my glasses off to actually see where I'm weeding, so it makes it difficult to see exactly what's showing on the screen. Now, I'm going to just hold things down while I lift the different pieces up and check that they are all in the right place. Now, I'm going to weed down here, and when you're weeding, it's not ideal to go fast. Just have some patience and just ease these little pieces up nice and slow, and you won't have any problem weeding your vinyl. Now you can see that these are very, very fine pieces that it's cut, and I don't want to mess it up because I do enough mess ups without having to do it deliberately. So I'm just sliding my knife blade underneath, and I can see that there's pieces there that I still need to trim out, and I'm just lifting this very carefully so that I leave the little pieces on the mat where they're supposed to be and take out the pieces that are not supposed to be there. Now you can see I've got a little piece here, and that will need to go back to where it's supposed to go. So I will endeavour to do that, and you can see I need to be extremely careful with these little pieces, because if they come off the backing, then it's not that easy to put them back on again. Now I'm going to just take this off, and I won't make you watch all of this weeding. I will trim it off so that you don't have to watch all the boring bits. However, it's in the meantime I've got the little pieces coming up, and you can see that this is going to be a beautiful little corner. I've got to try and work out where that little piece goes. However, we will come back hopefully when I'm all done and ready to put the transfer tape on. Now I've weeded most of the little corners, if you can see them. It's a bit glossy, but you can see that they are very fine in all this weeding, and I've managed to do that. And I'll just show you the last little bit from the mother, and you can see that it's a very fine cut. I'm just going to put my fingernail on it and lift it up with the true sharp blade. Now, the reason I'm using this rather than a general weeding tool is because these are very fine, and I find the tip of the knife blade just gives me that ability to get under those edges and bring them up. Now, I'm sure that you're thinking, oh my goodness, those are tiny little pieces, and you're right, they are tiny little pieces. However, just a little bit of patience and you can get all your little pieces out, and then you can put the transfer tape on your wood, and you'll be able to transfer it to the surface that you want to transfer it onto. Now you can see here I was having a little bit of trouble getting that up. Oop, I've got it on the wrong side. So when we're trying to pick it up, I just get the blade underneath there and I put it on. Now I've got a little piece here that's not supposed to be there, so I will continue finish that and come back. Now you can see I've got my word mother on there. Now I want to pick it up on the tape, and I need about that much, so I'm now going to trim my tape back so I've just got enough to pick up the word mother. Now They say measure twice, cut once. So I'm going to trim it down here. And hopefully that, no, it didn't cut, so I'm just going to have to trim it through there. Now I will endeavour to take the pieces off the screen that I don't want there. Now, one of the things that I do when I'm taking this off is try and avoid the little bitey flies that are around, and I bring this back and I bring it down, and again, quite often the true sharp knife is just what I want to bring this up. I'll try from the back now so that I can get it off, and yes, it's come up. So I'm now going to take this off, and I know that there's all sorts of ways of lining this up, but I'm just simply going to place it on and spread it across there. Now, the most important thing, and something I have lost from sight, okay, I found it, and that's my scraper tool. Now, people say, how do you get it to stick to the transfer tape? Well, the whole point is burnish. And I remember in my early days of working with cricut, that's 19 years ago, was how do you get it to stick? And they said burnish. And I said, I did burnish. She said, burnish again. And when it doesn't stick, burnish again. So I got used to burnishing from the back and from the front. And I first of all did it from the front. Now, when you're doing it from the front, you're not actually pushing it onto the transfer tape. You've got to turn it over and do it from the back to get it onto the transfer tape. And now I'm going to lift the transfer tape and see whether my burnishing did the trick. Now, okay, let's have a look and get the transfer tape down, and as you can see, I burnished and burnished and burnished, and I now have my word mother onto the transfer tape. Now, it's got on there. I don't want to make a mess of it, so I'm just going to put it across there until I've got it all off, and the whole thing is there, and I can use that and put it on the piece that I want to put it on. Now you can see that this one is yellow and it doesn't show up terribly well, but if I put it on the red, it does actually show up much better. Now you can see that it's back to front here, and that's because this is the sticky side. So I'm now going to put that on one side until I put it in place, and I shall go and lift up the other little pieces that I've got, and then I will come back and show you what it's like. Now this is the finished article, and you can see I've got the little corners down the bottom, and I've got mother written in the middle, and there's little corners on the top. Now you can fill in the blank spaces if you want to with little flowers or whatever you like, and thank you for watching.